Hi everyone, I'm Jed from the Bulbasket WW2 Living History Group. We portray 1st SAS B Squadron, the Operation Bullbasket around D-Day. We are today off to a very wet and windy Easter weekend at the Helston Railway to do the Great Tommy Sleepout, where we've so far raised just over £200 for homeless veterans and the Royal British Legion. So, let's see how this goes. Right, so I've arrived at Helston Railway, waiting for the rest of the group to get here. Crowding officer's already set up his £160 tent. I'm in a Zelp farm. Just a quick overview of what we're doing here and the re-enactment group itself. The re-enactment group is fairly new. We sort of semi-formed last year and it kind of got more and more official. We reenact the 1st SAS B Squadron, who were dropped into the Vienne region of France to help halt the 2nd SS Panzer Division Das Reich from going south up to the Normandy beachhead, which they would inevitably do as we landed on June 6th for D-Day. Their job was to blow railways, link up with the resistance and the SOE and continue their operations, continue resupplying them as things can now be stepped up a bit. But it was to annoy the Germans as much as possible. No one's going to stop Das Reich by just dropping some SAS in with a few Macchi and SOE, but every hour that they're stalled is an hour that they're not pushing us back into the sea in Normandy. So they were dropped in on the night of the 6th of June 1944 in the middle of the night. It was just two at first, Captain Tonkin and Crisp. They dropped in and met up with Captain Mangard, who his alias was Samuel, who's an SOE leader and is one of the best SOE leaders in F section. Met up with his second in command, who then took him to meet up with him. Over the next few days and weeks, more and more troopers dropped in. They had a drop of Jeeps. They actually, first operational drop of Jeeps, they were dropped from modified Halifax bombers. And they were to continue harassing the Germans, which is what Mangard had already been doing. He had a fantastic resistance circuit under his SOE. He even had the communist FTP along with the FFI working together, which was quite unusual. Fair play to him. So they conducted sabotage missions, mainly of blowing up railways. There's Lot 1 railway, Lot 2 railway, because the tanks need to go by train. They're going all the way from, I believe it was Montauban in the south of France. They've got to get all the way to Normandy, so trains, stop trains, they're going to have to drive, and Das Reich had to drive all the way there, and it was a nightmare. Think of all the wear and tear on the tracks, the wheels, the men themselves. So they've been harassed all the way. It was due to this drive is why Oradour-sur-Glane happened, the French village that was razed to the ground. Also Villers-Arbo was captured not too far away between Limoges and Verrières. Once the SAS were sort of up to full capacity, which was just over 50 men I believe, they camped out in the Forêt de Verrières, which is right in the middle of Vienne, not far from Poitiers. Now, it's not an ideal place because I think they're 20 odd kilometres from Poitiers. Now, Poitiers is a big German garrison, it's a main town. But it was all they had. The problem was that the Vienne was going through a drought and they needed a water supply, and that was a good water supply. It's quite hard to supply 50 men with water in the middle of a drought. So they conducted operations. They were told about fuel trains lined up in rail yards, and there's a famous picture of Lieutenant Tomo Stevens dressed as a French civilian, and he went with the rail worker who reported it, agreed that yes there was, and they called in mosquito attacks. It's also the first times that we were able to actually talk to aircraft flying above you. You could call in pinpoint airstrikes. Later on, for some of these mosquito attacks called in by the Bullbasket troop, it was also the first ever operational use of napalm. They firebombed a SS headquarters. So they were attacking, sabotaging, and it was all going quite well. They didn't even have to arm the resistance, which was one of their main jobs, because Captain Mangard had it all done. But as things went on, it was inevitable they were going to get found. The 2 troopers were captured. There was also an account that possibly a member of the milice, which were like the French, almost like the Gestapo. Even the Gestapo didn't like them. Very rough French, were took into the camp without the British realising it. And so anyway, the camp was compromised, and I believe it was the 3rd of July. They were awoke by the SS had done their usual tactic, which is start 3 miles out and just in a circle. They didn't have a chance. They'd all been told to, if their camp's ever attacked, to do not run down into the valley, but unfortunately when you're in the moment, most of them ran into the valley, which is what the SS intended, so they were caught in a trap, and over 30 were captured. The Maquis that were on site, members of the FTP, were shot instantly. The rest were taken away, and over the next few days, including 3 wounded, were kind of passed from pillar to post. From SS didn't want to carry out the commando order, which meant all special forces were to be executed and no mercy shown. In the end, they were passed off to a section of the Wehrmacht that had been attacked in the Saint-Savon, and saw it as a good way of getting payback. So they were taken into the forest at the Saint-Savon, where graves were already dug, and they were executed under the commando order. They were found later that year, I believe around December, by hunters who were now allowed to hunt, as that area had been liberated. Those that did escape, such as Tonkin, and there was also Lieutenant Weaver and a handful of men, they continued. There was 1 Jeep that wasn't captured out of the 4, I think, that were in the region. That was out on a mission, so they linked up, called in an airstrike. It's known as Revenge from the Air, the Revenge from the Air attack on the SS headquarters. And they continued to conduct operations until, I think it was the 27th of July, when they were ordered to cease. And once the operation was ceased, they were then told to find a runway, which they found one. It was a Lysander runway called Bonbon. They had it extended by paying the farmer to compensate him for removing a tree, so it could land Lockheed Hudson's and the C-47 to get them out, and they were replaced with the French SAS, who continued Bullbasket with a much greater strength, as they'd not obviously been captured, and that continued under Operation Moses. We reenact that because we feel it's a bit of history that the SAS are well known for their desert things. They're also quite well known for their big armoured jeeps as they went into Germany later in the war. They're not particularly known for what they did in France, especially Bullbasket. Maybe it's because Bullbasket wasn't particularly successful. It did help halt the Germans, but at an extremely high cost. So yeah, that's the group, that's why we formed it. And this is the Tommy Sleepout. We're doing the Great Tommy Sleepout. We've raised just over £200, I believe, for the Royal British Legion, and raise awareness for veterans sleeping rough. So let's see how the weekend goes. It's windy, it's already getting cold, and it's not even close to night yet. And it's our first time using all these tents, so let's see how this goes. Rest of the group aren't here yet, it's still just me, they're on their way, but that's our officer's tent. And then me and my brother who portrays SOE will be sleeping in the captured Zelt barn. I've got an original World War II sleeping bag, ground mat, and even a bedding roll, all original. And tin surprise, like any old good old British Army food. It's supposedly edible, but that's about all you know. What would an SAS display be without an SAS converted Jeep? Bullbasket ones are a little bit unusual from the typical ones. Bullbasket ones show one side of the headlights blanked. They have the usual cut out grills, cut down bumper with the supports to the wings, although Bullbasket Jeeps seem to have a French flag, looking at the pictures, painted on the bumper, which is something the 3rd and 4th SAS did. It has a single Vickers K rather than the twin, which the SAS are well known for. And it has one long range fuel tank instead of two. There would normally be another one right there. But it seems that they only fitted one on the Bulbasket Jeeps. It has the standard extra fuel tank mounted under the passenger seat to match the one under the driver's seat. For the keen eagle-eyed amongst you, it is actually a 46 CJ2A, not a Willis. It was probably the worst CJ2A on the planet, and we've slowly been converting it so that it can be used and abused. Well, the rest of the group have arrived, and we're going to start a fire and try and do some cooking and warm up because it is getting really cold. So there'll be a few bits of footage here and there, but I'll probably speak to you next in the morning when I've thawed out.
Oh, everybody said, oh, do you want a blanket? Don't give it away.
Dartmoor and all those kind of places.
No, that's how I always play. But I bought a beautiful airsoft WE, 70 quid in airsoft condition, and I sold it for 250 quid. And I was just like, oh, I'm gutted. But since then, bought a couple of rucksacks, and I've got about 3 or 4 birds. But I've pretty much got.
So that's the Tommy sleep out done. It weren't too bad at night, a few showers, but just as the sun came out this morning, the heavens decided to open and soaked everybody's kit, which was great for one of our members, Lawrence, because he was literally just packing up, ready to go somewhere nice and hot later this afternoon, and all of his equipment is absolutely soaking wet. But that was the Tommy sleep out. We all survived. First time using these tents, and they seemed alright. Main thing is, we raised just over £200 for the Great Tommy Sleep Out. While there is a very short break in the rain, I'll end the video. That was a Great Tommy Sleep Out with the WW2 First SAS Bullbasket Living History Group. It's kind of the start of our season. There'll be plenty more videos like this, I'd have thought, showing what we're going to be up to, which we've got quite a lot planned. Included a really special trip, but everything is saturated. I'm saturated and I'm following the blue sky and not actually reaching it. So I'm going to go home and get warm. Hopefully you like the video. Please subscribe to Hodgetts on History. There's this side, which is the living history reenactment side, and then there's my brother's side, which is the really interesting actual history behind it. Thanks for watching.